I think I would like to hand over to the illustrious Amy Lombard. Take it away, Amy.
Thanks, Kath. Welcome everyone. Really happy to see so many of you join, and I hope you'll leave here feeling a little bit inspired, empowered, with a whole toolkit worth of information that you can take on through your experience wherever you are in your menopause journey. I'm an exercise scientist and menopause fitness coach working face to face and online, and I'm going to talk to you today primarily about exercise and nutrition and how you can make some changes and add a few things to your lifestyle that's going to really help you improve your experience through menopause and really just help you cope with the physical symptoms and the mental and emotional symptoms as well. So next slide, we'll get started.
Yep.
Beautiful. Okay, so we all know that exercise is really important to us. And I think menopause brings us to a point where you kind of go, oh, okay, maybe this is something I do need to prioritize a little bit more in my life. We are all super busy people. You have so many hats on. You're a mother, a daughter, a friend, a career-driven woman, all those aspects of who we are. And it's very easy to maybe not prioritize our exercise as much. And I know for me, it's just as hard as everyone else. So I'm going to talk to you about a couple of things that you should be focusing on when it comes to your exercise. And then I really want to lean into strength training in particular and why it can be an absolute game changer for you when you're in menopause, particularly because I know this is a time where you might feel really disconnected with the person you see in the mirror, where you might notice that inner dialogue is hypercritical of your appearance, maybe feel super anxious, angry, impatient, and you maybe feel like you've just lost control of your life. Strength training can be your saving grace. And so I'll touch on that later on, but I will kind of get into the nitty gritty things first. So there's 6 training recommendations when it comes to women in menopause. Now, this is focusing on maintaining your strength, muscle, and bone mass. This is particularly an important focus due to the decline of estrogen that happens during menopause and the impact that has on your muscle mass and your bone. So strength training and getting strong. Then it is your aerobic capacity or your cardiovascular fitness. And this is because cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of mortality for women, and it increases through menopause. The next couple is improving the function of your pelvic floor. This is definitely a symptom that occurs during menopause due to loss of muscle mass, elasticity, and all of that. And then the others are improving your functional mobility, your balance, and your power output, particularly focusing on power due to frailty in older years and the risk that poses to your mortality if you have a fall and break a bone, osteopenia and osteoporosis as well. So it might sound like a lot, but the beauty of functional strength training, which I'm going to be talking to you about, is all of that is packaged into one beautiful, convenient, time-efficient package. Or if you just focus on strength training, you're going to tick all those boxes. Now, when it comes to movement and menopause, you can split it up into 2 different movement aspects, one being structured exercise and one being general physical activity. So structured exercise is just that. It's you making a schedule, making time to do exercise. That's where the strength training comes into play. And then general physical activity is really how much you're moving around throughout the day. Think about the 10,000 steps that we've all heard is a great daily goal. So this total daily energy expenditure breakdown, I just want to talk you through this because I think it's a super great thing to understand, and it's really going to sweeten the deal for you guys to move a little bit more. So your daily energy expenditure is how many calories you burn in a day. We obviously want that to be as high as possible, particularly if your goals are to lose a little bit of weight. And I know that is a symptom of menopause as well, as you notice some weight gain, particularly around the midsection. And there is a change in body composition because you start to lose your muscle mass. And so you have a higher level of fat. So we want to try and have as much energy expenditure as possible. Now it's broken down into these segments. The biggest bang for your buck is your basal metabolic rate. You're going to get 70% of your energy and calorie burning from your basal metabolic rate. Now, this is how many calories you burn just existing throughout the day doing nothing else. The way you can bump that one up is by putting on muscle mass. Muscle is metabolically active, which means the more muscle you have, the more of a kind of calorie burning machine you are. So park that. You want to increase that basal metabolic rate, and I'll tell you how to do it. The 15% is NEAT. This is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. How many calories you burn through general movement. This is where the physical activity comes into play. And this is things like getting your 10,000 steps, breaking up your periods of sitting, having a standing desk, going for a little lunchtime walk. It's trying to think of it as movement snacking. You're trying to move as much as you can throughout the day. And this is going to really bolster that 15%. So parking the car a little bit further away. All those little movement snacks, really think about those and how you can incorporate them. And just remember that the smallest amount really counts. So it might seem insignificant, all the more reason to do it. 10-minute walk might seem insignificant, all the more reason to do it. The next one is the thermic effect of food. So you might be surprised to hear this, but you actually burn calories digesting food, which sounds quite ironic. That's, your body has to process the food that you eat. Certain foods have a higher thermic effect of food. So, of course, we want to have some easy hacks. If we can bolster that up, that's going to be a win. And so things like protein in particular and high fiber foods, think about your legumes, very fibrous vegetables. They're going to your body's going to kind of have to work a little bit harder to digest those than it is a simple sugar like a chocolate bar or something like that. So if you incorporate lots of protein into your diet, it's going to bolster this. And I'll talk about protein and why it's super important for you as well. The last little sliver of 5% is your exercise activity thermogenesis. So you might be slogging it out at the gym an hour in the morning, but it's really only adding 5%. The calories you burn when you do that workout's really only 5% of your total daily energy expenditure. Don't be upset about that though, because you can capitalize on when you exercise by focusing on strength training and building muscle, because that's going to link you back to that basal metabolic rate. So if you focus on your limited time to exercise, on putting on muscle mass, you're going to do the best you can to really bolster up your energy expenditure. Okay, so now that you're super convinced to do some exercise and you're ready to get out there and you're like, okay, how much should I do? And what should I be doing? So if you go to the next slide, I'll talk you through what is recommended. Now, I want to caveat this first with the fact that something is better than nothing. So I know so many of us are all or nothing people. We have perfectionist tendencies. So we might go, right, I'm starting a diet on Monday and I'm going to be perfect. Or I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week and I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. And it just never really works. And what we end up doing is getting into this cycle of, I failed, I fell off the bandwagon, I'll start again on Monday. It's really about shifting that attitude to just go, anything is a win. Particularly as you go through menopause, you don't know how you're going to feel one day. One day you might feel super, super angry and you want to smash something, go to the gym. If you are super lethargic, maybe it's just a walk. Anything is a win. These are the recommendations though, and this is something you can work towards or add to. So the number one important thing is to prioritize your strength training. Typically, if you could start with 2 half-an-hour strength training sessions a week, if say you don't do any strength training, that is amazing. You're going to really start to feel some differences and some changes. And then of course you build on it. Just know that you'll build a tolerance to exercise as well. So don't go and start with 5 times a week because you're probably going to get ill. You're going to get injured. So start slow and build yourself up. The next thing to prioritize is your moderate physical activity. So this kind of falls into that physical activity 10,000 step style that I was talking about. And, you might break it up into 2 half-an-hour walks. Maybe it's a 1-hour walk, or maybe it's 10 minutes every now and then where you can get it. It's really just about moving at that moderate pace. You really want to try and move away from being a treadmill bunny, essentially. So, the cardio era in the 80s, where you're on the treadmill running for an hour, sweating it out. When you're in menopause, cortisol levels are a little bit higher. That might just be too much of a stress on your body. So bring it down to moderate physical activity that you can do for a longer duration, and then focus on HIIT and power to get your heart rate up. So that's where the next one falls into play here, where you're focusing on your power output. Literally 5 to 15 minutes is all you really need to do, and add it to your strength training sessions. And that way you get little short bursts. Great for if you are stressed, anxious, angry, let it out, ball slams, boxing, whatever you need to do. The last one, of course, is maybe using a stretch session on the weekend or a yoga class or something like that, just to touch on balance, mobility, and flexibility. And that's a really good self-care practice to do as well. And that is super important. So to the next slide, just going to touch on how to actually strength train. So I'm sure you've heard how important strength training is, but then you go, oh, okay, well, how do I do it? So to structure a workout, this is typically how I would do it. So you start with a little bit of mobility. That's, cat-cows, doing a little bit of stretching and getting your body ready to go. Then you're going to do movement preparation. This is where you touch on stability style exercises. So think your core, your glutes, and your shoulder rotator cuffs. Typically the areas that you tend to have injuries is stability muscles, and you want to activate them so that they're moving really efficiently and doing their job before you go into strength training. Because I know some of you might feel a little daunted by lifting heavy weights. This is how you're going to ensure you are fully ready to do it. Then you might throw in your little bit of power exercises, and then you focus on your strength. Now, when I talk about strength training, I'm not talking about having cute little pink 2-kilo dumbbells and doing bicep curls, 20 reps. That's not going to stimulate muscle growth. You need to have a volume of 6 to 12 repetitions. Again, it's not just stopping at 12 when you have a 2-kilo weight. It's about choosing a weight that is going to make you stop at 12. You want to be nice and challenged. So that's kind of the rep range you want to aim for. And then effort is 2 to 3 reps in reserve. So if you choose a 4-kilo dumbbell and you go for 12 bicep curls, if you get to the 12th one and you're like, I probably could have done 5 or 6 more, go heavier. Aim to be struggling by that 12th rep. And of course, you're doing that in a slow, controlled way in your full range of motion to get the most out of the movement. Okay, next slide. So this is the one that I'm most excited to talk about because I want you guys leaving here excited to venture into strength training. So on the left, menopause without strength training, that is not how you might feel. And I can definitely attest to, I'm sure, some of my clients feeling like that way before they started strength training. And then to the right is how I want all of you to be in the future. And I really think strength training can help you get there. And that's because during menopause, like I said, you might feel like you're completely at a loss and you just have no idea how to try and get your life back on track or how to feel a bit more like yourself, because there is a lot you can't control when it comes to menopause. What you can control, though, is your actions and your attitude. So if you've got a kick-ass attitude like this lady here, and if you make the choice of prioritizing strength training, you're going to realize that you'll be able to do hard things because you're used to sitting on a wall for 60 seconds and your thighs are burning and you're sweating. You're going to know that you're able to step outside your comfort zone and achieve a body weight squat. And you're going to start to feel yourself getting physically stronger. You're going to notice, oh, I'm carrying all the grocery bags in one go. You're going to notice next time you go up a flight of stairs that you've got that power in your legs to do so. And this is the gift that strength training can give you. And just a couple client stories that I hope inspires you to take that leap, and just know that the first leap is always the hardest. I got a client who's 57 and she can do more pull-ups than me, and I'm half her age. 49-year-old who can deadlift double her weight, 160 kilogram leg press for a 56-year-old client. Another client of mine who started with me with a stage 1 prolapse, did a 90 kilogram deadlift. And I quote, this is what she said, and she's giving me permission to say so, without her uterus falling out. And this is the kind of thing that strength training can give you. It can literally give you your life back. And yes, so many other client stories. One client post-breast cancer climbing the wall of China. So yes, strength training can really give you your life. The last thing I want to touch on, and then I'm going to, if you have any questions, type them into the chat box and then we'll jump on to our next speaker. So, onto the last slide, I just want to touch on a little bit on nutrition. Again, we probably all know what's healthy, what's not. And I really just want to encourage you to focus on mainly protein in every meal. So please, if you are someone who used to skip breakfast, do yourself a favor, start eating breakfast because it's going to ramp up your metabolism and feed you that protein you need to maintain your bones and your muscle. So, protein in every meal, lots and lots of fiber because your risk of higher cholesterol increases with menopause. And fiber is a really great way to try and mitigate that as much as possible. Obviously, get all your micronutrients as well. Focus on healthy fats too. So, your avocados, fatty fish, olive oils, all that kind of stuff. Of course, be mindful of your alcohol intake because you might not be processing alcohol as well as you did in your 20s. Just think about the hangovers and you'll know about that. And be mindful of your caffeine intake because you might become a bit more sensitive to caffeine and maybe that's contributing to your anxiety and inability to sleep. Last thing I want to speak to is how to eat, which I think is even more important because of how emotional food is for us. And the 80 whole, 20 soul principle works beautifully. Make menopause an opportunity for you to ditch the diets, ditch the rules and the restrictions, and just focus on 80% of the time, eat in alignment with your goal. And if your goal is longevity, losing a little bit of weight, if you choose to eat 80% of the time in alignment to that goal, eating real foods, 20% of the time, you can have whatever you enjoy, the soulful foods, the foods you enjoy with your family and your friends and going out, and you're still going to get to your goal. So 80 whole, 20 soul is what I'd love you guys to take away from the nutritional guidelines. And yes, if you have any questions, please add them to the chat box and I'm happy to answer them all. Thank you, everyone.